College golf spring season begins in a few days, and I'm joined here by Jonathan Dismuke, the director of golf at the University of Houston. Thank you for your time, Coach. How are you doing?
All good. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So this year it was a 4 month break for your team. So just tell me, you've been coaching at college golf for several years now. Just tell me, how do you like to handle the break, and how was the break for you?
It just depends a little bit. We've gone, we've this year we ended the fall season really early kind of for us. Typically we kind of play up until the kind of the end of October, and we've actually even gone to Hawaii in the past and played all the way into the first week of November. And it was a longer break than we typically have from competition, but it was nice. I mean, we had a really nice fall. We played four really nice events and played pretty decently at times. So it was a good fall for us. But yeah, it was a little longer break than I'm accustomed to.
Yeah, 4 months. So, you've been coaching for many years, and I've talked with different, coaches and different college golfers. But for you, do you have a, message on how you like your players to handle the break, or does that, differ, from player to player and year to year? Do you like your players to more focus on just practicing, rest, competition? How do you like to handle the break from fall to spring?
I always tell our guys like if you're going to do anything, probably go play.
Okay.
During the break. We spend a lot of time practicing, and to me, typically what happens is if guys only kind of practice over the break, you lose the kind of intangible skill of kind of getting the ball in the hole. So I tell our guys, I'm like, listen, like, d during the off season for us, like trim your practice time down a little bit. If you're gonna do anything, go warm up and go play. Because we can always scale up from a practice standpoint, and typically you transition a lot better the more time you spend playing.
Yeah,
It's our really
definitely.
our only time of year that we have some downtime. I mean, if you look, most guys go from January all the way up into November. So golf's a long year and a lot of competition. So, I tell our guys to kind of scale back a little bit, and if anything, just keep your playing skills in order versus anything else.
Yeah, I like that, scale back your practice a little bit and then also, stay competitive if you're able to. That I like that message. So talking about your fall season, it was highlighted by a win at Louisiana Tech's tournament, second at Rice. Hudson Weeble got two individual titles and you had three total for your team. I know
Mhm.
that your last tournament result wasn't, what you may have hoped for, but just, overall, how would you assess your fall season with a win, a second, and a couple individual titles?
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job for the most part. I mean, our fall schedule was a little messed up. We would Yeah, we had to kind of add some events kind of at the last minute, just due to the Big
Okay.
12 match play not happening. So we ended up playing 3 weeks in a row, which is not, it's not probably the greatest thing for college golf because you miss a lot of
Mm.
school and
Yeah.
traveling in team environments. It's a lot. And we played nicely. We had the low round in University of Houston golf history, to win the first event of the year, the Argent Financial over at Louisiana Tech, and had it going pretty well over at Rice's event, kind of in Houston, kind of in our backyard a little bit. And Rice had a really nice finish to their final round, and we kind of stubbed our toe a little bit, and ended up finishing second there. And similar story a little bit at SMU. We had it going pretty well through a couple rounds, and just didn't get much out of the final round. But we're fortunate enough to have three guys win individually. I don't think that's happened, for us in a semester since 2014, where Roman Robledo won all three times. So, that's testament to how our guys played on the top end. Like I said, we didn't play the way we wanted to in the final round. I think we were kind of a little bit out of gas, but
Yeah.
won our final tournament. But a lot of good positives from the fall. We had a lot of guys play at a very high level, and just got to put it together as a group a little bit better in the spring.
Yeah, definitely. I think it sounds like with your scheduling changes with the Big 12 match play not happening, it sounds like you're able to handle it well. So now getting into your spring season, you'll
Mhm.
start hosting at the Board Olympics in about 3 weeks, then go to Mexico, and then back-to-back tournaments you host the All-American Intercollegiate at the Golf Club of Houston. that one of the premier, tournaments in all of college golf, one of the strongest fields in college golf, the Valspar Collegiate at the Floridian. So just tell me about what do you see, upcoming. You host three tournaments, so you'll definitely be busy outside of your
Yeah,
coaching duties.
yeah,
You'll be tournament
yeah.
host for three. But just tell me what you see for your spring season.
Yeah, I love our spring schedule. I love every event that we're playing. We're going to some tremendous venues. Border Olympics is one of I believe it's the longest running, consecutive running collegiate tournament. It's been in existence, I believe, since the 50s, and it's a
Huh?
tremendous event. The whole community supports it, and it's a early February. It's kind of not a lot of options. Unless you're going to Hawaii or you're going, to somewhere in South Florida or California, Arizona. Laredo is one of the few places that has got pretty consistent temperatures that time of year, and the golf course is in good shape. So we always look forward to that event. Cabo is Cabo. I mean, Barbara Ann Klein puts forth a spectacular event every year. Twin Dolphin's a tremendous venue. Been really impressed with the golf course the last few years that we've been there. And it's a tremendous experience. Obviously, the weather's consistent, the food's great, and Cabo's pretty hard to beat first week of March. Uh, Golf Club of Houston and the All American's been a staple for us. We've hosted that event for several years now, and we love showing off our home golf course. It was the site of the Shell Houston Open for 17 years, and just a really good test. You got to drive the ball well. It's very protected by water, and tends to be a pretty good test for players year in year out. And then, like you mentioned, the Valspars year in, year out, one of the top rated collegiate events, if not the number one event in college golf. And we're so grateful to have the opportunity to host there. Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, owns that facility there at the Floridian.
Okay.
And then my good friend Hollis Cavner at ProLink Sports is kind enough to help us, with the funding through Valspar that allows that event to be possible. And I believe this is our 11th, or we had one COVID, we missed COVID, so this is actually the 10th time that we've done this event, and we're um, you know grateful each and every time we get inside the gate. Then we follow it up with going to Augusta, which is obviously special. To play Forest Heights, then we'll go to a practice round at the Masters afterwards, and then wrap up the regular season at UNC at the newly updated Finley course there.
Yeah. So you kind of just answered my next question. It was about, the University of Houston host the Valspar in Florida, but is that, you host the Valspar in Florida is that through connections? You started
Yeah,
hosting
that's
this?
that's through Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, is a a Houston resident, and he owns that facility at the Floridian as well. And then just a longtime friend of mine, Hollis Cavner, who
Yeah.
runs PGA Tour events. He runs the Valspar PGA Tour event. Runs what was the Wells Fargo, and very involved with the PGA Tour, and he helps us with the funding for the event.
Yeah. So for my next question, you host the All-American Intercollegiate at the Golf Club of Houston, which, used to host the Shell Houston Open on the PGA Tour. And I've talked with coaches who host tournaments at, like Palos Verdes and Inverness. And I talked with, college golfer who played at St. Andrews this year. So for my question is, what is it like for your players to get to, play on a PGA Tour course and just have, this tournament, a PGA Tour course for all the teams and players who come?
Yeah, I think it's a great experience. There's been several times where we've played it where the stands have been up. Where the event used to be in February, about a month before the PGA Tour event. So we've played it in different conditions, whether it's overseated and stands being up for the PGA Tour event. And obviously that's a special experience. But a lot of these guys have grown up watching the Houston Open, and they're familiar with the golf course. So having the opportunity to compete there on a championship venue like that, so it's an awesome experience for the players. And we love showcasing this, our home golf course, and we love showcasing it. So um, tremendous experience.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to talk about because I believe I don't know. if you're very familiar with it, but just what does it mean for you to coach at, University of Houston? I know it has a lot of, history within the game of golf. I know like Fred Couples went to University of Houston. So just
Mm.
with, a school with a lot of, history, great players like Fred Couples went there. What does it mean for you to coach, at
It,
the University of Houston?
it's a I wake up early every day and go to bed late every night trying to figure out how to make this place a little bit better, to honor the players that have been here in the past. It's if you can kind of see behind me a little bit, I've got this quote on the wall in my office, and it's the Houston Golf Dynasty, and kind of our mission statement. The first line of it's we have been selected to be part of the greatest golf program in NCAA history, and it's our destiny to grow this dynasty.
Yeah.
And that's something we try to live every day. It's a tall order.
Yeah, definitely. So you're the director of golf at Houston. I'm interested in learning, tell me a little bit about your role as, because you were, head men's golf coach first, and then you got promoted to director of golf. Is there any difference in being director of golf versus, head men's golf coach, or not too much, difference in that
Uh,
title?
Pretty fortunate. We've got an unbelievable women's staff. So,
Yeah.
so my I don't coach the girls day to day. They coach the girls day to day. We do some strategy stuff together, and we work together to just for the betterment of both programs. And it's I started the women's program here, and we started it in like 2014. We hired Gary Chadwell was our first women's golf coach, who's now the
Okay.
was golf coach at Texas A&M, and we were able to get the kind of the ball up and running, and it's been a tremendously successful program from the get-go, and that's a testament to Garrett and to the assistant coaches that have coached here. Lucy Nunn was an assistant here for a while. Mary Michael Maggio was an assistant here, the first assistant, and then Lydia Gum, who is the current women's golf coach here at University of Houston was the third assistant. She's done a tremendous job and rolled into the head coaching role and been awesome. We've if you look at just the spinoff from this program, and we've got multiple head coaches. We've got the assistant at Oklahoma State, Daniel Park, was Lydia's assistant for several years. So this program's very very young relative to a lot of programs, but extremely accomplished.
Yeah, a lot of great names and coaches that have gone through the program. I'm interested in learning because I think I talked with another coach before, like a year or two ago. Believe Virginia Tech, who started their women's program. But for you, just what was it like, starting up the women's program? Because I'm sure that was, a lot of work, a lot of behind the scenes, and things
Yeah,
like
we
that.
did a pretty significant feasibility study, and we did some things very differently than any other rollout. One of the things that I felt like was important was to have some to kind of be able to layer the recruiting a little bit. Typically, what happens is you decide to start a program, and there's a big rush to recruit a bunch of players. And what happens is, you spend all your scholarship money in a short window, and it's hard to have any sort of continuity recruiting classes consistently. So what we did is we kind of layered the start, and we did only individual play for a year. So we had girls that were here that were just basically playing as individuals for a full year before the team started. That allowed us to attract some transfers. And we were able to kind of spread out our resources and not contribute all the scholarship money in a very narrow window of time. And I'm not sure what the stats are, but we qualified for NCAA postseason play in our first year, which is kind of unheard
Wow.
of
Yeah.
in starting a sport. And I believe we maybe qualified for NCAA postseason almost every year, maybe with the exception of maybe one. In the existence of the program. So for new programs, typically the hardest thing is being good quickly. Now it changes. It's going to change a little bit, obviously, with the portal being transferring being a little more prevalent, but it was kind of non-existent when we kind of got up and running. So it's been a fun start. It's been fun to watch them. We've had a lot of great A lot of great players, a lot of great girls that
Yeah.
have been part of this program. So it's been fun to see.
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty incredible, first season qualifying for postseason. So some of your background, you attended Auburn, and before Houston, you were assistant coach at Mississippi and Texas A&M. So just tell me a little bit about your experience, attending Auburn, and then your time, what led you into coaching at, Mississippi, Texas A&M.
Yeah, no, I had a tremendous experience at Auburn. I grew up in the state of Mississippi uh, didn't really leave the state a whole lot as a kid, and to have the opportunity to play golf at Auburn was a tremendous blessing. Coach Griffin afforded me that opportunity, and I showed up and was extremely grateful and tried to make the most of it over my 5 years there. I redshirted my first year and then played, most every event for the next 4 years and had a tremendous experience and played with a lot of tremendous players. I played professional golf for a couple years and
Okay.
um, had a little bit of an injury and was kind of at a stalemate in my career. And I was looking at different options. You I had a family friend that really wanted me to go to law school at Ole Miss. He was a judge in Oxford and
Okay.
really wanted me to go to law school at Ole Miss. And I was kind of six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. So I started kind of coaching golf. I was afforded the opportunity to be the assistant golf coach at Ole Miss by Ernest Ross, and was really kind of weighing kind of what it is I wanted to do. And we had some, kind of some pretty quick success there at Ole Miss. The 2 years I was there, they kind of been struggling a little bit, and we made a tremendous amount of progress in 2 years, and that afforded me the opportunity to um, to go to Texas A&M in 2008 and coach for JT Higgins, which was the best decision I've ever made. I kind of left law school behind and and came to Texas, and we had a tremendous year. What was on paper probably a rebuilding year for Texas A&M. They lost two great players, and Bobby Gates and Martin Pillar, both who played the PGA Tour. And we were, like I said, kind of looking at a rebuilding year, and ended up winning the national championship that year, which
Oh, wow.
really uh, leapfrogged me into to having this opportunity at Houston. So
Yeah.
um, I'm so grateful for really every opportunity I've had in college golf. I mean, golf has been a lifeline for me. I grew up in a pretty poor area in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi, and it's afforded me some really unique opportunities. And
Yeah.
I'm forever grateful for all the institutions that have taken a chance on me for sure.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I like your story of, your pro career was, derailed by injury, but, as I've heard with a lot of coaches, coaching is a good way to, stay involved in the game of golf.
Yeah,
Uh,
my
so two
pro
more
career
things I thought of.
probably
Yeah.
my pro career was probably derailed mostly by lack of talent, but that injury
Oh,
for sure,
okay.
with the combination of lack of talent didn't definitely forced a change of direction for sure.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people like myself are not even good enough to go pro. But anyway, two more things that I thought of, Coach, that would be good to get your perspective on. You were an assistant coach at, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and have been
Hmm.
a head coach at Houston. So did you learn anything, being an assistant coach that helped you in your head coaching role?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've taken a lot from every coach. I mean, whether I played for them or worked with them or I always try to pick guys' brains, even as a player and build relationships and things like that. And I mean, to this day, I mean, I am constantly learning. Coaching is one of those things that is uniquely challenging on a day-to-day basis. So you have to be continuing to evolve your skill sets, learning how to communicate, every year seems like the players change a little bit, and communication styles have to change, and really taking a deeper dive into understanding your players. And I've been so fortunate to, I learned a tremendous amount. I mean, JT didn't have a huge golf background, but he was a tremendous fundraiser, and really ran the program more so from a CEO type standpoint. And I learned a lot from him at Texas A&M, as far as that goes. Ernest was a
Mhm.
career golf guy, and him and I always had great conversations. Mike Griffin, my coach at Auburn, was a career golf guy and was really, really a tough, um, just mentally tough, guy. And kind of resonated with that, and learned a lot from all of those guys.
Yeah, definitely. So finally, you've been coaching at Houston for 17 seasons. Just tell me what
Mhm.
have the past 17 seasons at Houston been like for you, and what have been some of your favorite memories over your coaching career?
Oh man, that's a tough one, man. It's I look back on it and it's absolutely flown by.
Yeah,
But, the iPhone is a cool little toy because it your photos and memories and things like that continue to pop up, and that's probably one of my favorite things is over the course of 17 years I've coached countless players, and and going through my iPhone on a daily basis and having different memories pop up, and there's always pictures of tournaments that we have won or tournaments where we played terrible, and there's something funny that happened or whatever, and just going back and kind of reliving those memories with the guys that I shared this with is a tremendous blessing. I mean, I stay in touch with a lot of my former players. I try to stay in touch with all of them on a fairly consistent basis, but the volume has gotten kind of high over the years. So, but anytime anything pops up on my phone, this worth recollecting. I always try to fire out a message, and yeah, whether it's to a group or whether it's to a single player individually, that's probably my, we've been fortunate to win a lot of events.
yeah,
We've taken it on the chin a lot of times too, and sometimes, shared adversity with a group of guys makes you really close. Um, and all the funny little stories and dumb things you do over the course of your career. Sometimes those are as fun to relive as the wins.